So we've been going through the lines of the monastic mind, and we're now at the last line of it, having thoroughly actualized the previous lines. Yeah. Okay. So, and this is kind of a summation of the previous ones. In all these activities, I will endeavor to remember impermanence and the emptiness of inherent existence, and to act with bodhicitta. So there we are. That's the basic thing that we should be paying attention to and doing. Uh, and so these are the realizations we want to gain. They are also the antidotes for so many wrong conceptions that we have. Yeah. So how to use them? What kind of situations? How to keep these in mind? Uh, so to remember in all of our activities, to remember impermanence. So I remember reading something that Ayakema said once. She was giving a talk and she had a cup, and she said, "This cup is already broken." And I thought, that's brilliant. If we look at everything we have and say it's already falling apart, because it is in the process of changing moment by moment, never remaining the same. Then, when it comes to the gross disintegration, where we can actually see with our eyes that it fell apart, then we're not surprised because we've been aware the whole time that it's not lasting. Yeah. And so, similarly, when we see attachment coming for wanting something we don't have, or attachment to keeping something we do have, not wanting to separate from it, then if we remember, this cup is already broken, this relationship is already over. We have to separate sometime. We can't stay together all the time. This status I have is already gone. Whatever status we have, we're not going to have it forever. Yeah. Whatever delightful possession we have, it's already broken. Yeah. So use it, but don't get attached to it because it's gone in the blink of an eye. And so that way of thinking really helps us in our lives to accept the reality of things changing all the time, because this is a big problem we have. Yeah. When change comes, if it's a change we want, then it's great. If it's a change we didn't want, then it's awful. Okay? And you see this a lot when people are friends or people are in a couple relationship. One person is changing and doesn't want to be as close or wants the relationship to change, and the other person doesn't. So this person, oh, the change is great, like I get to leave and do this and that or whatever. And this person's going, but. Okay. Whereas if from the very get-go, you're able to understand, well, death is going to come sometime or another, and that's definitely going to separate us. And something may separate before. If you think of the families in Ukraine, that 2 months ago, they thought they're still living as a family. There wasn't going to be any separation. Then boom, like that, they're separated. So if we have that idea of impermanence, then when changes come, whether we want them or don't want them, we're able to adjust, we're able to adapt. And this really lessens our pain, because you can really see in our lives how much pain we experience when there's a change that we don't want, or a change, especially a change that we didn't expect. I didn't have this written in my calendar. If you had told me that after such and such a date, you were moving to Timbuktu and I would never see you again, then it was okay. But you told me the night before you got on the plane, and so I'm freaking out. Whatever kind of change it is, to have in mind that it's going to change, and then when it happens, not so much freak out. Then, keeping emptiness in mind in all of our activities, or endeavoring to keep emptiness in mind. This one, I think, is really useful in whatever position we hold, whatever job we hold, whatever career we have, whatever title we have, because we often make an identity out of it, and solidify that identity. I am a this or that, and then add all these qualities that we think inhere in that identity. I am this or that, therefore people should treat me like this, and they should always do this, and blah, 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 blah. And then, of course, people don't, and we're still grasping onto our identity, and then we get very upset. I am this, and you should listen to me. Yeah. So, Venerable Semke, if I can take you as an example, you are usually pretty now relaxed when I take you as an example. That's a big change she's made. Previous years, I didn't dare use her as an example. So you've changed. Yeah. So Venerable Semke and I have this thing every summer about what time of day you water the plants. Okay, don't we? Every summer we have this discussion. Okay, so she turns on the sprinklers at dawn when the sun is coming up. And I say, don't turn them on then. Turn them on in the evening, and then, because if you turn them on, the water on at sunrise, it evaporates and it doesn't get to the plant. If you turn it on in the evening, it soaks into the ground and it gets into the plant, nourishes it. And so we've been through this 18 years, I think. Yeah. And so there's just a little bit of grasping at identities in this discussion we have, okay? Because she's the gardener, yeah, and she's the landscaper, and that was her career, and she knows that. And so she knows that, and I'm some pipsqueak who comes along who contradicts what she knows as the professional know-it-all about gardening. Okay, so she's hanging on to that. Meanwhile, I have the identity of I'm so smart. And I read somewhere that you water the plants in the evening. So that's what makes me smart. I read it in a book, And so I'm hanging that onto my identity of I'm so smart because I know that. Okay. And so the rest follows. Okay, so you can see this kind of thing. We have these discussions all the time at the Abbey, don't we? Yeah, somebody says, this is my department, this is my job, and so I'm going to do it this way, and there's this grasping at, this is my possession, this is my job, and I know how to do it best. And somebody else, has a different idea and they're clinging on to, but I also have experience. I'm the person who has other experience and I have a better way of doing it or another way or a different idea. Yeah. And so we're both clinging on to identities. We're both becoming proud about what we know, either because we have the title that I'm I hold this position in the Abbey, or if you're working at a job, I hold that position, so therefore I know best. And then the other person's grasping onto, but I'm smart and I have different ideas and I'm sure they're going to work just as well. So this grasping at identities, and when we grasp at an identity, our mind has become very inflexible. Yeah, extremely inflexible, because there's this conceit of I. Yeah, I am this, therefore I know that. Therefore, you should relate to me this way as the person who knows that. Yeah, and everybody's thinking that way. you know. Whereas if we remember emptiness, yeah, we remember, wait a minute, this position is only a label, it's only designated to a set of chores that we do. Yeah, it doesn't make us better than anybody else. Okay, but then we refute it. But, I am better than everybody else because I studied it. I have a degree. Look at my piece of paper. I'm an expert. Yeah. And so again, clinging, grasping. Yeah. That piece of paper proves that I am an expert. It means I am infallible, and everybody should recognize I'm infallible about this department, because this is my position. Okay, and then of course the other person's thinking something similar. They don't have the title. So the person who has the title says, you don't know what you're talking about. And the other person who doesn't have the title says, but I have my own ideas and I have whatever I've read and studied and whatever I feel like, and you should respect me because I am I. I am me. Okay. So if we remember that, all these are just conceptions of self that we are concretizing and holding on to as being, an inherently existent me that no longer is dependent on causes and conditions. Yeah, no longer is dependent on being designated, but exists in this way. Okay, so I am the person in the kitchen in charge of washing the dishes today. Yeah, get out of the way, because that's my job. See on the rota, my name. So I'm going to do it my way. Don't tell me what to do. So yeah, so I think you get the idea. This comes up, doesn't it, all the time? Yeah, and sometimes it's about important things, and sometimes it's about which way do you put the stamp on the envelope, because they're forever stamps, and the forever is written very tiny, and it's hard to see which way the stamp goes sometimes. Yeah, and we can argue about that, and we both know exactly what's right. Yeah. Okay, so remembering emptiness kind of dissolves that, and we realize, forget it. When I become the Buddha, then I'll be an expert, and I won't grasp it as inherently existent at that time. Right now, chill out, kiddo. You say to yourself. Okay, so very helpful to remember emptiness. And then bodhicitta, to remember that as the motivation for what we do, so that, the pride that comes from not remembering impermanence, the pride that comes from not remembering emptiness, that pride doesn't distort our motivation and make our motivation one of attachment to reputation, attachment to Yeah, reputation, what people think of me, who I am. Yeah. And our motivation so easily gets corrupted by that. And, you know, by understanding impermanence and emptiness, then our motivation of bodhicitta can really shine through a lot better, because we don't have that self-interest. We're not trying to protect ourselves in one way or another. And so then when we do the meditations on seeing the kindness of others, understanding their suffering, seeing the defects of, the self-centeredness, the benefits of cherishing others, then we can really come up with an altruistic intention that genuinely cares for others, minus the self-interest. Okay, so that's our work. Yeah. So this afternoon at our meeting, I'm supposed to talk about what is what are our priorities for the next year. Those three. Okay. Yeah. If you think of a better priorities, tell me. But I am the expert in this. Okay. Good.